everybody, welcome to my channel. I'm Nicole. If you don't know, now you know. So today is an exciting day because I wanted to pay homage to one of my favorites, my queen bee, all hail Queen Gwen Stefani. I'm going to be using her eyeshadow palette from Urban Decay, which has obviously been out for a while, but I love Gwen Stefani. She is one of my favorites. I grew up with her. I grew up with No Doubt. They were one of my favorite bands when I was younger. So I wanted to create more of her iconic kind of 90s look using some of her shadows here, and just to take it back a notch, because in my opinion, the 90s were one of the best eras to grow up in. And so the first thing I want to do is prep my skin. I'm going to be using L'Oreal's Miracle Blur, the Revitalift. This is a sample that I received. And basically this is going to help to fill your pores and just give you a more blurred, perfected finish. But what I like about this is it's more mattifying because it is the 90s, so it wasn't really about the glitter and the highlight and all of that, unless you were like RuPaul and doing the whole, you know, lips drag thing. It really was more just about being kind of edgy and grungy and mattified, and it wasn't perfected, it wasn't blended, it wasn't Instagrammed, it was just what it was. So I'm going to start out with that today. And then for foundation, I want to use the Clinique Beyond Perfecting Full Coverage Foundation. This is a lighter color than my skin. This is number 4 Cream Whip. So one thing I noticed looking back at some of the old pictures of just my family, my friends, my idols that I looked up to, is that sometimes their foundations were lighter than their actual like neck and body. And I don't know if it was the lack of shade ranges probably at that time, or if it was just the thing. So I'm going to go a little bit lighter, and with this you're just going to apply it with an applicator. Now this can be used as a concealer as well, which is why you have this type of an applicator. I don't necessarily use it as a concealer, but I just paint my entire face with it and then blend it in with a dampened beauty blender. Let me see if I have one here. So let's get into it. Alright guys, so there wasn't much concealer, I don't even think. I remember my mom used this Merle Norman like white cream painting. It looked like paint. I'm going to conceal just a little bit under my eyes. I'm not going to do the whole highlight shebang, but I am going to bring this onto my eyelids because I want to mattify a bit and a little bit down my nose just to make this look a little bit more pale. And this is the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer, and I'm going to use a brush just to kind of move this product around. But basically I want to make my brow bone look real big and wide, because Gwen Stefani had very thin brows at the time. So I want to kind of brighten. I really look like a raccoon now. But I want to brighten this area of my face to kind of emulate her more. And around my nose too. But you'll see too, like, there wasn't all of the photoshopping that you have today and just the editing and things like that. So it really, you know, the pictures back then just weren't perfectified. They were just pretty much as is. And so I want to kind of create that kind of perfected, unperfected look that a lot of the women had. So now I'm just going to set this with the Laura Mercier powder, which is just translucent powder. And just kind of do it all over, like not even try to perfect it. I'm just kind of trying to brighten and whiten my skin. I was just thinking, you guys, like, I remember my mom had this Coty Airspun powder, and I'm pretty sure they still make it because I think I've seen Patrick Starr use it, but And I just remember her like patting that all over and using like Max Factor and, like I said, Merle Norman and all sorts of stuff. So the makeup companies have obviously changed, but CoverGirl was always around, and that was another big one. And I remember when I was allowed to start wearing makeup, that was what we all wore, was the original CoverGirl, either the liquid or they had the compacts, and they had that awful smell to them. It smelled like pure chemicals going on your face, but that was the thing. So yeah, like kudos to that. But I'm going to use the color, going into the Urban Decay Gwen palette, I'm going to take the color Skimp, and this is just a very kind of like fair, pinky, whitish color. And I'm also, I think what I'm going to do actually is go into this too, my Sculpted face real quick, and just use this white matte powder, because it's hard to find like pure white anymore, unless it's in like, you know, a 350 palette or something. But I'm just going to take a regular shader brush and just put this all over to my brow bone. So I'm just going to do that, and now I'm going to take that color Skimp with that same brush and just apply this all over my lid. And I'm not really doing it like packing it or perfecting it. I'm just kind of swiping it on, because that was really the look. It wasn't, like I said, clean cut and perfect. And I'm going to take a little bit of this right up into my brow bone too. Okay, so now using this color Stark, which is kind of a taupier nude color, I'm going to take a 340 brush. What's the 340? Or no, the E40, excuse me. E40 crease brush. Try it again, Nicole. And just make sure that you have a nice clean brush, and we're going to dip it into Stark. And again, there wasn't too much in the crease line from what I could see from Gwen, but just kind of squaring this off a little bit. Not really going to halo it too much. I just want to add a little dimension. Okay, so I just kind of swiped that and like squared it off. Now going into the color Anaheim, which is a little bit darker. It's kind of like a cool grayish brownie color. Just going to go again into the crease line, keeping it fairly simple, not like haloing it or mooning it. I'm just going like back and forth to create a little dimension in there. Gwen had a pretty big lid space, but my eyes are a little bit more protruding than hers were. So I'm just doing this to kind of create a shadow and make my eyes look a little less big. Alright guys, so that is it as far as the shadows, because like I said, there wasn't much about shadow. It was mostly just about the black liner, and then Gwen always looked like she had some kind of falsies on, so I'm going to wear falsies. But I'm going to go in now with a Torrid draw on eyeliner, just a regular black liner. You could do like a cheap Wet n Wild, anything like that, because I remember Wet n Wild was big when I was younger. But I'm just going to go in now right into the lash line. Not going to make it too fancy. I just kind of want to fill it in and make sure my lash line is really just nice and thick and coated. We're going to go over this with liquid liner, but don't worry about a wing or anything. Just go into your lash line. Make sure it's smokier and filled out. You could even go into like the tight line, waterline area. And just make sure, again, like it's really nice and dark in there. Alright, so once you kind of smudge that black in there, go in with a liquid liner. I'm going to use the Master Precise from Maybelline and just kind of coat over the pencil. And again, there's no like precise wing, but you do want to kind of make sure it's a little thicker in the center and a little bit thinner on the outside corners. And I'm just going to kind of flick it up at the edge. But again, like I'm not trying to make a precise wing. I'm just almost like squaring it off in a way. I already put translucent powder on, but now I want to take another powder. This is the NYX No Filter in Porcelain, which is lighter than my overall face, but again, we're sticking with the 90s, so we want it to have a lighter kind of feel to it. And I bought this for highlighting originally, but I figured this would be great to put all over. So I'm going to use this brush from IT Cosmetics. This is the Bye Bye Pores powder, and I'm just going to buff this powder on top of the translucent powder. And just kind of lock all of this in place and give it a really, like I said, matte look. Down my neck too. Okay, so we have that, and then for blush, I wanted to do something, let me see what I have here. Organize myself. I wanted to do something a little bit deeper because, like I said, I didn't see much contouring with Gwen up until more recently, but I did notice sometimes she would do like darker, like kind of plummy blushes, or sometimes even like a deep berry. I don't have a deep berry, but I do have Desert Rose from MAC, and this is Rapture Afterglow from Urban Decay. So in sticking with Urban, I think I'm going to go with this and a little bit of Desert Rose and just blend the two. On the back of my hand here. And just grab a mirror. And basically, I'm just going to keep this high up on my cheekbone because I remember my mom would wear it really high. Instead of in the apples, it would kind of go up here. So I'm just going to kind of focus it right on the top of the cheekbone, kind of more where we would wear our highlighters at this point. But just keep it up higher and give the face a little bit more of like a harder edge to it. Okay guys, so now that we have all of this set, I'm just going to go in and put my lashes on and mascara off camera because that's pretty basic. There's nothing exciting. I'm just going to be using probably like some doubled wispies just to give it like a fuller lash like Gwen always had. And they're a little bit shorter, these wispies, so they're more true to like her natural lash, I guess, at the time. I don't know if she had falsies on, but it looked kind of a little more dramatic, the lashes. So I'm going to do that at this point, and then when I come back, we'll do our brows, which is going to be fun because it's not the type of brow that you're used to. Alright guys, so my lashes are drying. They're kind of a hot mess. I had a little issue with this one, but the glue will turn clear when it's dry. So I'm just going to take my e.l.f. under eye powder, the setting powder, and just use this to brighten even further on my eyes. I can't believe how bad that glue looks, you guys, but sometimes you just have a fight with your lashes, and that's what happened in the lash one. Okay, so let's get into brows. And with brows, it wasn't mapped out or defined really. I just saw a lot of them look like they had kind of painted on brows. So I'm going to use the Brow Stylist Definer from L'Oreal in the color Brunette and Dark Brunette. Grab my mirror here. And basically with this, you guys, we're not going to be like mapping out. We're literally just going to start drawing some strokes into the brow, keeping them as thin as possible. I mean, if you have thicker brows, you're probably going to have to play around with a little bit of concealer to create a thinner brow and give the appearance of a thinner brow. However, I have hardly any brows, so I think I was designed for the 90s. But I'm basically just tracing into it. Trying to keep them literally as thin as I can. And then when you get to the end, just kind of like, it sounds terrible, but press it. Press it as hard as you can to make that brow thin, baby. Like, just... Alright guys, so I'm starting to get into my Gwen Stefani character here, my 90s ish. I have my like old school Harajuku track jacket on that like really doesn't fit me anymore, but let's be real, it reminds me so much of the Just a Girl video and just her in general, and so I had to pay homage to it. But the lashes are on, our brows are thin and square, our white brow bone is popping, so let's get into the classic type of Gwen lip. I'm going to start using NYX's brown lip pencil because she kind of, I don't know, I think she became more old Hollywood retro glam red lip later on, but initially the lip was kind of gritty and it was different, and so I wanted to try to kind of do like the typical like 90s lip, which was the brown on the outside and then kind of ombreing it, if you will, but keeping it still gritty and just 90s. So let's go. We're going to use NYX brown. All right, so we've outlined in brown, and it's okay if it's not super glamorous because we can always kind of like smudge it out a little and clean it up. But 90s were not really super glamorous unless you were like Cindy Crawford. So now we're going to go in with L'Oreal Color Rich Truly Burgundy and just kind of like blending this on top and into the brown. I'm going to just kind of place this next. We're going to kind of like layer it to make it like real red on the inside and a little more rustic on the outside here. Okay, and now we're going to go in with Rimmel's Exaggerate Red Diva lip pencil. I'm going to fill the inside in with this. So there we go. This is the finished Gwen Stefani look, and I feel so awesome looking like her. Obviously, I am not blonde. I am not skinny like her. But this is my homage to Gwen. We have a little bit of Tragic Kingdom. We have some Return to Saturn. We have some Harajuku lovers. We have some Rocksteady. I mean, this is like my homage. I'm just like spilling out Gwen all over here, you guys. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I just added a little bit of gloss on the lips just to get them real nice and sweet and pouty, like Gwen. But anyway, this was a ton of fun to do, and I really hope you guys enjoy it. As always, give me a thumbs up and subscribe. Let me know what you thought about this tutorial. I will list the products that I used down below, and let's just all have a moment of silence for music in the 90s and all things great that have left us. Okay, yeah. But anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys again really soon.